When we talk about mental health, it's such a profound and sensitive topic. So we all have our own definition of mental health. As for me, when we talk about mental health, it means the center and the core of your well-being, your mental well-being. So mental health can be how you feel throughout the day, how you feel throughout the year, the month, or your lifetime. So it's something very profound. It has a different meaning to everybody, but for me, it means the center of your well-being.
And for you personally, how is your art or music served as an outlet to cope with stress, depression, or even anxiety?
Oh, wow, what a beautiful question. When we talk about mental health, I always come back to, like, as a artistic person or somebody who's in the creative industry, when we talk about mental health, I really never believed in it. You know, as a man, as a boy, you're taught to be strong, you know, and there's no such word as mental health in African dialogue, you know. In the traditional African setting, we don't believe in mental health, especially as men. You know, we are taught to be strong. But I first encountered it when I lost my daughter. That was in 2019. I always thought I was, you know, a cemented guy, you know. But I had to go through it, and it also somehow affected my music. And it was the first time actually I had to, you know, had the argument with God. You know, and at the later stage, you know, as a musician and as a creative, music is healing. It has the power of healing, and it actually spoke to me, you know, while I was coping with that, you know. I once also contemplated, you know, suicide, like our late artist that has fallen. But you know, they always say, you know, your performance on earth is as great as your faith in God. So once you have faith in God, you know, I always say that once you're going through mental health, it's not only a health problem; it's also a spiritual problem. You know, some of as Africans, you have to be grounded. You know, so we forget that sometimes. You know, and yeah, it happens. So it's I believe mental health is something that, especially men, we should look at and really, really conceptualize, you know, the concept and have dialogues around it.
Yeah. Have you ever had moments where the pressure of your career or public expectations affected your mental well-being? If so, how did you handle it?
Every day, you know, because fans, they look at us as, sometimes I feel they look at us as robots, you know. And sometimes I'm asked, you know, especially when there was a time where I was really quiet, 2 years where I went to the north, and the fans were like, "Oh, where's the music, you know?" But I was dealing with my own, you know. And as a creative, it's different, you know, because sometimes, imagine this, you need to be at your lowest to create your biggest hits. You know, sometimes you really have to be drained in order for you to really perform. You know, and then sometimes you really have to be happy. You know, you have to be at your highest. That's when the heat comes out. You know, so as creatives, I always feel like, you know, sometimes there's no place where we can really crawl. You know, and musicians they seek refuge in their art. You know, that's why musicians are considered as crazy people and whatnot. But they are just people, you know, that are not really. They are fragile people, you know, and especially in Namibia. I speak on behalf of Namibian musicians. I don't speak about, you know, other countries or whatnot, because, you know, we are very special.
Yeah.
You know, we have a very special space in the creative industry. You know, we are very, very fragile. We don't have a support system. Imagine you cannot even go to NASCAM and tell NASCAM, "Yo, I'm not okay." You know, NASCAM will tell you to go to Ministry of Health, go to the clinic, you know. But I feel like places like NASCAM are supposed to be having those type of places, you know, where we can seek refuge as artists, you know, go to a place where we feel understood, you know, and we can really have those type of dialogues. In terms of how I have dealt with it, you know, I have friends in the music spectrum, people that care about me, people that check up on me. So I have a very strong circle, you know. I have people like Kachazi, Maritoko. I have people like Cyclone, people that are really around me, Ali Dominican, you know, people that just don't care about me as a musician, but they really care about the man behind the sound, you know. So it's very important to surround yourself with people as a musician, as a creative. And I know this dialogue is coming around. This dialogue is only a dialogue because we've lost creatives like Rashiyama, the late Rashiyama, people like Cannibal, you know, the great Cannibal. I wouldn't have been a voice-over artist if it wasn't for Cannibal. You know, people forget the type of mentorship that these creative has left, you know. So the way I've dealt with it, you know, I'm a God-fearing being, you know, I always go on my knees and I consult my circle. Yes.
Yeah. Now, Don, speaking of hit songs, you yourself had multiple hits before. And, you know, when the public hears a hit song, they automatically assume that the artist behind it is financially secure. From your experience, why is that often not the case? And how does financial instability impact the mental health, creativity, and also the long-term career of artists?
Me, I even wish that NASCAM could give us loans, because I feel Namibian artists, we are fragile, we don't belong to any society, we don't even have unions, you know, and lately they've been playing this. Look, you have to ask yourself, for example, we've lost the late Dr. President Hage Geingob. We've lost Dr. Sam Nyoma. Every time they call us to do something, it's on a pro bono basis. Those things, they work on our mental health. We get angry. Why every time they want to call us, they want us to perform for free? And it comes, those invitations that come from establishments or initiatives that are busy working with our, for example, arts policies, regulations of art and whatnot. Pro bono until when? They act like Namibian musicians don't have bills to pay. Okay, now I go, okay, pro bono, I have to sing about Sam Nyoma and I have to come pay tribute to somebody that I really profoundly love. But then I have to face Maritoko. I have to face Endro on the beat. Let me not even mention Chris Wayne. These people, they want money, you know. Now I have to go to my producers and I have to tell them, yo, let's create this free beat. This producer has to pay electricity. This producer has kids. You understand? So somehow, the government has failed us. And I've always been an outspoken person when it comes to these type of things. NASCAM has failed us. We have nowhere to crawl as artists. As we are service providers, like security guards. We are service providers. Like any other service, we are in the industry. Logistics, we are in the same industry. So somehow, somewhere, I feel like the industry does not take us seriously. That is why we as artists, we feel alone. We feel like we have nowhere to go, you know. And when we talk about financial stability, look, there's nothing more worse than being famous and broke.
Yeah.
There's nothing else more worse than being famous and broke, because that is the circumstance in Namibia. That is the circumstance in Namibia. But I take my hat off for our president, Menetumbo, who's giving out the youth grants. That is a start. We want to see more grants coming out for the youth, and for her allocating a budget for the creative industry. That's a good thing.
Yeah. Just finally, Don, how can fans and the public and also the Namibian government better support artists beyond just consuming their work, especially when it comes to their mental well-being?
Yeah, that's a tricky one. Let us create policies that are very strict. For example, in Zimbabwe, in order, if you are a taxi driver, you need to pay for a radio license. Because you are a taxi driver, right? You pay for you are recognized by the Ministry of Industries. You understand? Meaning, if you are a taxi driver, you are somebody that's paying tax. You understand? Now, you are in a car and they're playing music. Meaning, you are liable to pay tax. So, if we can create a radio license for all taxi drivers and for all commercial transportation vehicles, not only vehicles, even hotels. I know NASCAM is already regulating those ones. But for example, taxi drivers, they need to pay those licenses for playing music in their taxis every day. Because imagine if you are in a ride in a taxi or in a Yango and there is no music, how would you feel? You understand? So the ride comes. The price of the ride comes with the music. You understand? So, for example, imagine if we are going to be collecting revenue from taxi drivers and Yango drivers and all these bus drivers that are moving from Rondo to Oshakati. Now, imagine if we take these taxis with a license that you have to pay a radio or music license, 35 Namibian dollars annually. Now, you times that according to the number of vehicles we have in Namibia, we are going to be seeing a change in Namibian music industry. Now, for example, that money goes to NASCAM. For example, now we have Samra in South Africa. Samra in South Africa is giving loans to South African artists because they have that money. NASCAM must not even go collect that money directly from the taxi drivers. They can collect it through Road Authorities Fund, or what is this, NATIS. So if you are paying for your license or your license disc, that same time your license disc expires, your radio disc also expires, your radio license also expires.
Yes.
So it's not something. Look, Namibian music creatives need. It's not far-fetched when I say Namibian music creatives need health insurance or life cover, the same way teachers and other industries have. It's not far-fetched. Understand? So we only need people in the right position